Welcome to the Scratch Golfer's Mindset Podcast, the show committed to helping you dismantle the destructive mindset programs keeping you stuck in the proverbial bunker of poor performance so you can get out of your own way and play to your potential. My name is Paul Salter. I'm a high-performance hypnotherapist and mindset coach with 16 years of experience helping thousands of individuals like you get unstuck. This podcast features a collection of solo episodes, conversations with scratch and plus handicap golfers, and master classes with top experts in the performance psychology space. The one goal? To help you make playing to your potential a habit. Hey, fellow golfer. Welcome back to another episode of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salter, the golf hypnotherapist, and today I'm joined by mental performance coach and host of the Performance Formula podcast, Mr. Jody Martins. And what's fascinating to me, and I know this statement is going to come across as so ignorant, is Jody specializes in primarily working with cricket athletes. I know next to nothing about cricket, and it was so enjoyable for me to show up literally knowing nothing to dig into not only the nuances of Jody's very own performance formula, but to hear how there are so many parallels and commonalities between cricket and golf and ultimately becoming the best version of ourselves. Buckle up. You're going to find so much value in this conversation. So without further ado, let's dive in. Please help me in welcoming Jody to the show. Jody, it is so wonderful to have you on the show today. How are you?
I am so awesome, Paul. It's so good to be here.
Excellent to hear. And I want to know, what time did you wake up this morning? And how did you spend the first hour of your day?
This morning, I think I woke up at around 7 o'clock. You know, it's New Year vibes. We're still recovering from 2 nights ago when we had a lovely little walk out on the beach here in front of our house we did about a 4-kilometer walk up the beach to go look at some fireworks. So our body is still recovering from that a little bit. So slightly later than normal. So around 7, just after 7, maybe got up out of bed. And then normally our mornings are, first thing I do when I wake up is it's my duty to make the ginger, lemon, and honey, raw honey. We put in a little drink. That's the first thing we do every morning. And then once we're done with that, we go peel our celeries and we drink some celery juice. And then once we're done with that, we get into breakfast, which is normally a smoothie or eating some fruit. And then we get on with the day. And in between that, I might be starting to contemplate what my day would look like. And that would be different every single day.
Well, what I love in that you shared is regardless of a little variation in the wake up time, the routine is still the same. The few processes that you execute to prime yourself to have a fantastic day more or less does not change. And with your, outstanding experience and background in the mental performance coaching realm, speak to our listeners about the power and the benefit of having a routine to begin each day.
You know what? I'm not a big routine person. I hate routine personally. It's not something that I grab onto naturally, if I can call it that. But one of the things that I was aware of was I really, for a long period of time, struggled to focus. So I would know that there's certain work. I work for myself. There's certain things I would need to get done in a week or in a day. And I would often, for a long period of time, for say 2 or 3 years, I really struggled with that. I really struggled to find my focus to the extent that it really bugged me. And in particular, things like the time you spend on your phone and sort of the scrolling, doom scrolling, in the name of research, in inverted commas at times, or in the name of something important. And then you get lost within that. And so, it's really more driven by my wife, I'd say, than it was by me initially. Just before we started recording, I told you that I was in the US for a couple of months last year. And so one of the things she did during that time at home, was she stopped sort of being on her phone throughout the day because there was no reason for her to be on her phone. And she found that her sort of focus and her energy actually picked up. And so when I came back from the US, which was sort of mid-October, it took about a month for me to really just find my feet back here in South Africa. And since then, I'd say since about mid-November, we've been really going strong with this. And so the really awesome thing is that I've discovered sort of the same thing, that there's a different clarity that comes. There's a different sort of certainty around what my day is going to be and how I'm going to fill it if I don't sort of spend the first while just on the phone. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy, those are old habits and you got to break them. So every now and then it might be pick up the phone to look at the weather in the morning because we want to know if we're going to go out to the beach today. But then before you find it, you're scrolling again, and then no, put it down. Let's go. Let's get busy with the things that's needed. And so maybe I'm sort of drifting there a little bit. But I think what I've discovered through it is that if you have a routine, initially it feels really difficult. It was like difficult to stand up and do those three things. Make 2 drinks and make breakfast in a very specific routine every day. And initially it was difficult, but I find on the days that we maybe miss it, a Christmas day or a New Year's day, or where there's some other activities around or other things that happen, that the day just doesn't feel right, so as to say. It just doesn't feel like everything is in place like it needs to be. And so, if you're somebody that struggles with a routine, I would say, start with something small and build some additional meaning onto it. So for us, all of this is built around our health. Every part of it is, and health to us is really important, right? So it's, some people might say health is important, but it's maybe not. Where we've got it sort of inside, we've made so many decisions in our life around health. We went vegan. We exercise. I forgot to say that earlier. Normally between the celery juice and the breakfast, we go exercise. And so all of these little things is in the name of some bigger thing. We're getting a little bit older. We don't want to be sort of struggling upstairs when we get older. So there's a bigger meaning that drives. And my wife's had some health complications, and so there's bigger things behind just, I just want a pretty body, or I just want to look good, or I just want to do a routine because Kobe Bryant says it's good to have a routine. I have a routine because it's meaningful for me in some way. And I think once you find what that meaningfulness, then the routine actually becomes quite easy or easier to commit to and do.
I really that was such a thorough and holistic answer to that question. I'm so glad you shared that. And what stands out to me to reflect back is, first and foremost, for everybody listening, routine is not going to automatically begin with ease on day one. It's different. It's change. It's outside of your zone of comfort, predictability, and familiarity. And if you go in with the expectation, to use your example, Jody, Kobe Bryant says X, Y, and Z, or in our case, Tiger, Phil, Rory, Bryson, they say A, B, and C is the best routine to have. You're missing the mark if you expect yourself to be able to wake up tomorrow morning and effortlessly start doing that. So tempering expectation that change is uncomfortable, the more you lean into that discomfort, the easier it becomes. And as Jody so brilliantly said, routine becomes a hell of a lot easier when you know why you are doing it, when you attach it to something more meaningful. And if I bring us back to the golf course here, the easy one is we know a pre-shot routine allows us to tap into that unconscious autopilot and access our body's natural ability to swing a golf club the way we've practiced tens of thousands of times. So we know the value of the pre-shot routine, and it takes repetitions to ingrain it. But if we go beyond the golf course, it's the morning routine, it's the exercise, mobility, strength, and power routines that you need to build the best version of golfing you possible. There will be elements of that which are uncomfortable, that need to be anchored in to your collective goal, which is to become a scratch golfer, to win the club championship, or whatever it may be. So well said, Jody.
Yeah. Maybe just a thought I had as you were speaking there is that My sort of brand under which I run my podcast and do things called the Performance Formula. And for a long period of time, and to a certain extent, I still believe it. Even though I have a sense of what a formula is for performance, I'm a big believer in that performance, ability to go perform at your best under pressure is very unique to each individual. And so if we listen to the Tigers and the DeChambeaus and the Kobe Bryants or whoever it might be, if we listen to these people and we just try and copy paste their routine, inevitably, in all likelihood, it will fail because it's not yours, it's theirs. And so my sense is that more often than not, as human beings, we've got to understand that there's benefit in routine and that there's a lot that can be gained from it. And it's more important to understand maybe the core essence of what the routine's purpose is, and then to have your own way of achieving that. So the essence of a routine is, from a performance point of view, is to drive you to the present moment. That maybe in a very oversimplistic way, but that's the essence of it, to get you present, to get you to be able to focus on this task, just this one that you've got to do now, and then to execute that, free from thoughts and feelings and all sorts of things that could interfere. And so, there's many methods. I mean, I didn't speak about meditation and breathing, but to me, that's something that sort of happens more throughout the day. I don't necessarily commit 10 minutes every morning for something like that. It's something that ebbs and flows, where I'm just become aware of my breath at various stages through the day as I feel I need it. But again, the purpose of that is to drive me into the present moment. I feel my mind drifting off. Okay, well, let's just focus on the breath a little bit. Let's just be here for a bit. Let's just go sit outside and take in the sun. Let's go into nature. Let's write in the journal. There's many methods, but it's for each person to discover, I think, how they use those methods in their own unique way, instead of just saying, okay, well, Tiger says ABC, so now I've got to do ABC. Because I don't think that'll last. It might only work for ABC times, and then it'll fade away.
Yeah. So well said. A fantastic point. And one other note I think is important too is routines can and should change over time. I like to think that they should evolve with every new season or chapter of life, because the person you were 12 months ago, as an arbitrary example, might have needed parts A, B, and C of your routine. And now we fast forward, you might need parts A and B, but also T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. It's going to ebb and flow based on your needs, priorities, and goals at the moment. Again, never taking that copy and paste approach, cultivating your unique framework or formula in your case to help achieve your goal.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm going to build off of this. I love
100%.
I think this is a good segue into something you've said many times that really stood out to me. You say, hey, really quick, imagine this. In a single calendar year, you drop your handicap by 6 strokes. You win multiple tournaments and shoot your best round ever. Oh, and you also win Player of the Year in your golf league. That's exactly what my client Luke did in 2024. In a matter of months, he dropped his handicap from an 8.1 to a 1.6. His secret, the only thing he changed about his game, he invested in mindset coaching and high performance hypnotherapy. And through our work together, he was able to conquer fear, release doubt and anxiety, calm his nerves, drastically turn up the volume of confidence, and finally start playing in attack mode. If you're listening to this show, I already know you've got the passion, you've got the work ethic, and the commitment to play to your potential. Now it's time to master the mental game to get you there. Use the link in the show notes below to book a mindset coaching discovery call with me today, and let's make playing to your potential a habit. And I think it ties in beautifully with routines, because I have a bit of a perfectionistic part of me, and you are a big believer that perfection in sport is a disease that will only cultivate mediocrity.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that for us.
So I suppose you would have these athletes that say they're striving for perfection, and a sport like golf is technically driven. And so it's easy to think the thought that if my technique is perfect, I'll play better golf. But my sense is that, and cricket, the game I come from, is very much the same. There is very much a focus on the technical side of how you bat and how you bowl and how you field. And coaches have big reputations and names because they focus on that, and they're known for being able to make techniques look good. My sense is that there's more to performance than just playing the game perfectly. There's way more to it. And there's things that can, if you look at the best golfers in the world, you'll most probably find flaws, and I'm not necessarily that big of a golf technical fundi to know all the, the ins and outs of it. But I can think of somebody like Jim Furyk, who had a completely different swing, yet was world class. It's not the type of swing you would coach anybody else, but he was world class. And so Tiger Woods changed his golf swing. So he was the best in the world, yet he needed to change. So you could say it's the pursuit of perfection, or you could say, well, that's just the natural evolution of growth and looking for the next edge, looking to stay ahead of the pack because the pack is chasing. But the mindset of perfection is what I think breeds mediocrity. There's a difference between saying I want to get better and I want to improve and I'm always open to learning. A mindset of perfection says I have to get it right. And if I don't get it right, I'm failing. And so it creates this inner struggle. It creates an inner turmoil that I think doesn't allow athletes to actually level up. It doesn't allow them to go beyond mediocre and become great. Because it's not perfectionism that makes a striving for perfectionism that makes a Tiger Woods great, in my mind. It's rather a striving for continuous growth. And there's a difference. Perfection is right and wrong. I have to get it right. And if I don't get it right, it's wrong. Where growth says I can go mess it up beautifully and I can learn from that. And next time I find there, I can do it different and I can do it different. It's the sort of 1,000 ways to develop a light bulb, Einstein, that understanding. Or you take somebody more current like Elon Musk. He doesn't want to build a perfect rocket before he shoots it up into the sky. He builds a rocket, shoots it up, and then goes, oh, shucks, what didn't work? He's not trying to be perfect. He's fixing problems, and he's evolving, and they're growing, and they're taking their plans, and they're putting it out there for the world to see. And if somebody can challenge them and do something better, well, it'll allow them to level up. So it's not about perfection. It's about growth. Yeah.
I love that. And what I really hear and I'm extracting is like, first and foremost, a growth mindset is at the core of all of this. And I'm curious on your input too. Like I also hear tempering or having appropriate expectations, like specifically in golf and every sport, like perfection is like literally not attainable. Like the number of fairways hit and greens in regulation hit on the PGA Tour are like C averages or D's or F letter grades in some cases. So tempering expectations is a valuable part of the process of letting go of perfectionism. What else does somebody listening who really feels like they struggle with this perfectionistic tendency, what else do they need to hear or be aware of to begin letting go of that expectation?
Accepting failure.
Expand.
I can't. I don't know golf stats. I did look into them at one point in time. So I'm going to give some cricket, and I can maybe give a little bit of tennis because there's a guy who fairly recently went, and maybe some good examples of this. And if you look at the absolute best cricketers in the world, batters, we're talking of people who have the highest averages. And I don't know if any of this makes sense or if it will make sense to your audience at all, but you think of the Tiger Woodses of the game I come from. Their success rate is somewhere between 30 to 40% of the time.
Yeah.
And I know baseball is very similar. Baseball, the rate at which hitters connect with the ball, we're not even talking about them hitting home runs, just getting hits is somewhere between 30 and 40% of the time. And then home runs is about maybe 10%, if that. Yeah. I'm not too sure on that stat. It might be a little bit less. And so it's that ability to accept the failure. That actually when we're going to engage with sport, tennis, Roger Federer said, I won 80% of my games, but I only won like 52% or 56 or whatever it is % of my points.
Yeah.
And so even a guy like that who dominated world tennis, he is failing essentially through performances, yet still winning at the end of the day. And so I think, it's a big thing. I work with footballers. They go through the same thing. It's like, I can't fail. I'm not allowed to fail, because if I fail, then the coach is going to think bad of me. Then they're not going to pick me. Golfers, if I don't get this right, well then, how am I going to improve my game? How am I going to lower my score? How am I going to have that career? How am I going to have that house, that car, potentially? How am I going to support my family? How am I going to build a life? And so I think if we think of that, if you're spiraling through those types of thinking, or you're having that inner experience with yourself in your sport, it becomes really tough to perform at your best. It becomes really, really tough. So when I say accept failure, it's not saying that it's okay, I'm just going to fail. It's not about that attitude. It's about saying, I understand that I'm going to give my all every single time. I work hard when I go hit balls. I'm assuming golfers that you maybe work with hit loads of balls, like thousands maybe a week, or, who knows. And not too dissimilar from the cricketers I work with. Batters will hit thousands of balls a week. And so it's about saying, I'm going to go into every performance and I'm going to be able to commit to being present in the moment and play what's in front of me with 100% of what I've got. And then failure is going to be there potentially most of the time. And hey, there might be times when failure is extended and other times when success is like smashed together. But over a period of time, there's going to be more failure than there's going to be success. And you know what? If I have that growth mindset, then I can tap into those failures, and I can learn from them just as much as I can learn from my successes.
I really like that. That reframe is so powerful, because you're right. If we have this underlying story about failure that leads to us fearing it, like very specific to golf, and I'm sure you echo this in your cricketers, it's when we have that fear present of failure, we show up apprehensive, we're timid, we're tight, we're tense, and therefore we're non-committal, we're indecisive, we're passive in our approach shots, our golf shots, and that leads to producing even more poor shots. Then we're stuck in this negative performance cycle, which breeds more fear, more apprehensive, and downward we go. So instead, if we reframe failure as simply a learning opportunity, we show up with this non-judgmental curiosity. It's like, oh, wow, I can learn so much. The ball went that direction, or this occurred. Why did that happen? Oh, okay, next time I can do A, B, and C, and onward we go. And maybe we don't maintain the most positive of mindsets, but at least we're neutral in those micro moments, which adds up to build positive momentum in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. It's maybe another point to the question that you asked me before, and I love that last little bit that you said there about remaining neutral. That's something that, to be perfectly honest, I only really got my head around this a few weeks ago, sort of in December. But to the question you asked about what golfers or people can do around sort of perfection, and maybe for me this doesn't just speak to just perfection and sort of being able to manage that, say, a bit better. I'm a big believer in, and I don't know a lot of people that speak of it in this way. I know a few people, like a handful of people, and yet I think it is such an important missed component, and that is that every athlete, every person on this planet that lives a life should actually choose the experience they want to have. We don't do that. We tend to outsource our experience. We outsource it to our performance. We outsource it to our outcomes, our results, most of the time as athletes. So if I perform well, I feel good. If I don't perform well, I don't feel good. And I'm oversimplifying it. It's most probably not. It's way more complex than just those simple words. I mean, we can get into identity and all the things that's potentially attached to that. But just for me, the simple essence of choosing the experience I want to have with my sport. So you know what? I understand that I'm not going to be successful every time I go out there. But when I play my sport, I want to have a great time. When I play my sport, I want to be able to really focus, because I know when I focus, I actually give myself the best chance of being successful. When I'm having fun, when I'm relaxed, when I'm And so whatever those things are, and again, they're unique to different athletes, but they would normally revolve around those ideas I shared. Relaxedness, which talks to your internal state, where your focus is, which talks to where your attention is going, and sort of just the joy that you're busy having, doing something that you love. And so people might have those in different percentages, or they might have different things. Like I know a couple of cricketers, when they get really angry, like it might not be the experience that they want, but it is the experience that gets them to be at their best. So they can say, you know what, I understand that if I get a little bit more riled up during a performance, I actually perform at my best. So I need to find ways and seek ways in order to do that. It's not always sustainable, but if it is, well, then that's what you've got to figure out. And so I think for a lot of, I play a bit of golf. I'm a bit of a hacker. And so I made peace with the fact that I'm not going to be any good at this game. And so I just normally go out and have a great time and abuse myself a little bit. And I'm there more for the laugh than anything else. But that's maybe a good example. I decided to have that experience, to say, you know what, I'm tired of coming to the golf course and just getting frustrated at every shot that's not working. I'm tired of coming to the golf course and sort of thinking that I'm this great player when actually I'm not. I'm tired of coming to the golf course and putting this pressure on myself because there's eyes looking at me, which are all mates normally, and living up to invisible expectations that I don't even know if they have or not have. I want to come to the golf course and enjoy the day out with my friends. I want to come to the golf course and enjoy the couple of good moments that might be there. I want to come to the golf course and seek every ball to be clear on where I want to hit it, and what club and where I'm aiming it, and that's the experience I want to have. And then it's my job to go there and create that and make that happen. And so for me, then I can rather measure how near or far was I from my experience, because I feel like my sense is that the closer we get to the experience we want to have, the more our performance will play out in the way we want it to. If we're further away from the experience, because our inner game drives our outer game, so the closer I am to cultivating or creating that inner experience that I want, the more I allow the performance on the outside to happen.
Those last 5 minutes or so, absolute gold. So for those of you listening, it's a wonderful opportunity to hit pause and go re-listen to those last 5 minutes. So well said, Jody. And I can't help but feel kind of the thread to connect the major topics we've discussed so far: routine, perfectionism, to the performance formula, to choosing your experience. Like, one of these common threads that brings all of these points together is this concept of self-awareness, or understanding yourself, who you are, what you need, therefore giving you the clarity to cultivate the experience you want. And I know that one of your, and this is my word, not yours, pillars or components of your coaching approach is really keen on getting athletes to understand who they are, so that they can then design and build the lifestyle and ultimately the processes to help them have the success they want. Speak to our listeners a little bit more about maybe either your approach or the immense value in going through that deeper self-awareness process.
Yeah, there's many ways, firstly, in which you can become self-aware. You can go to coaching. You can reach out to Paul and get his services. I'm sure he would help you with that too, with the things that you do. Journaling is a form of that. It's often a thing that sort of people speak about. It all starts with awareness. So then the question becomes, well, what is that? What is awareness? And so awareness to me is, I know, I've never had to say this to anybody else, right? It's an awareness I had in my mind. I've never had to verbalize it. So it's like, I know what I'm thinking, and it's like the thoughts aren't happening to me. I'm disconnected from them. I know what I'm feeling. The feelings aren't happening to me. There's a disconnect between the two. And so I can be aware, oh, shucks, like right now, I'm actually thinking I'm an idiot. Is that helpful? And so awareness to me then becomes about the questions we learn to ask ourselves. am I asking myself really good questions? Because the quality of my question determines the quality of my life. So if I'm walking around and I'm saying, oh, you're such an idiot for playing that shot, you've practiced it so many times. If I can catch that, if I can be aware that, hey, hang on, your self-talk right now, and maybe this fleeting thought that appeared, you've grabbed onto it and you actually spinning this little thing into oblivion, yeah. And it's making me like just feel nervous, and it's actually not helpful. And we can sort of learn to interrupt that. Maybe splash some water on your face, go for a little walk, a couple of deep breaths. And so it's awareness is that. It's that ability to catch what you're busy with. And then the strategy would be asking a question. The strategy could be disconnecting from what's creating that. So for me, over the last couple of years, in 2020, my wife and I, when COVID came, we moved down. We came for like a 2-week holiday to my parents-in-law at a small coastal town here in South Africa. At that point in time, I was coaching in Johannesburg. I was at a full client base. But I was overworked. I coached 7 days a week, no rest. The only rest I would have is sort of over a December period. Outside in the sun 5-6 hours every day, morning admin. I was running a club, head coach at a high school, and my own cricket academy, and doing mental performance coaching on top of that, and doing Cricket South Africa level 1-2 coaching courses where I sort of taught coaches how to coach. All of this at the same time. And so we came on this 2-week holiday, and then COVID hit, which became a 4-month stay, which became we're going to move. We're going to pack up our life in Joburg. We're going to pack up our life in Joburg, and we're literally going to start over. And so when you say you're going to start over with something, with life, essentially, have an income, have a house, come no income, no house, right? Have a car, come here, have no car. And so a lot of that was tough. And so the self-awareness. So what we did early on in that process was I went on a 10-day silent retreat. And so I believe that is the best form of self-awareness, is go sit in your own thinking with nothing, no pen, no phone, no cell phone, where you get a bed to sleep on, you get 3 meals a day, and you get taught to meditate. And it's in silence. You're not speaking with anybody. That was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. But what I sort of gained from that is this understanding that one of the biggest ways, or the easiest ways to alleviate the tensions and the stresses and the things like that when they come into our lives is when we can direct our focus and our attention. So in meditation, you direct it to your breath. And so the more you focus on your breath and that ability to, okay, I'm aware that there's this thought coming, but I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'm going to shift my attention back to my breathing. You sort of learn that thought just disappears. It just goes. And before that 10-day silent retreat, I was a big believer in there's no such thing as a quiet mind. I didn't believe in it, because you hear all these things where people say you think 70,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of them is negative, because it's your survival mechanism that wants to keep you safe. And so I went in there with that. And so at that point in time, I was like, okay, well, you just accept all thinking. It's going to be there. All thoughts are positive. They all have a positive benefit. They're not necessarily all positive, but they all have a positive benefit that they want to give you. And so what I learned was in the meditation was, after 4 days of struggling with myself and my thinking and like battling demons, if you can call them that, it's more just the struggle of, I want to focus on my breathing, but now I've got this random thought about my business coming into my mind, and what business plan. No, but that's not what we got to focus on our breath. And so that ability to be aware of a thought and then to be able to redirect it back to the thing that you want to focus. So that ability to direct our focus, then you realize that the thought actually disappears. It doesn't stay. It just goes.
That's an awesome experience.
Yeah, so it took about 4 days of this battle, and somewhere in the fourth day, my mind just went completely quiet for the first time ever in my life. There was no thought or no awareness of thought, right? So the thoughts might still be there, but it's almost like they found their place and they understand, like, now we just Now we're just doing the breathing thing. And I equate that to flow. I equate that to that. Like, that's similar to the flow experience. You get so lost from a focus point of view in one thing. It's what video games do. It draws the child in to the video game. It just gets them to focus on this one task. I've got to win this battle, and time, warps, and all these things happen. And so it's a game of focus at the end of the day. And so a lot of what I said earlier, that ability to design your experience, is about designing your experience of where you want to focus your attention.
Hey, fellow golfer. I want to take 30 seconds and just remind you how much I appreciate you continuously listening to this show. I sincerely appreciate you listening. I sincerely appreciate you sharing the episodes that resonate most with you, with your fellow golfers, friends, and peers. This goes a long way in helping me to best help you. It gives me the leverage, the opportunity to attract the bigger guests, experts, and players to continuously provide you with a masterclass on in-depth mental and emotional training you need to play to your potential. One other step you can take that goes a long way in helping me best help you is hitting pause right now and leaving a genuine rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this show. Hit pause, leave that rating, leave a review, and I'll catch you back in the episode. And it's all through that lens of going inward.
Yeah, 100%. Because the inner game drives the outer game.
Yeah,
belief drives performance.
Yeah, so that's an experience that's on my bucket list. So I'm thrilled to be able to kind of hear from you how valuable and beneficial it was. That I'm sure off air, I'll pick your brain on that more. But what I want to bring that to, I think, is so important. It comes back to, I share this all the time. There's so much value in having some form of a silent or quiet practice. You can call it meditation, breath work, journaling, but the point being to sit in stillness. A quote that always comes to mind around this topic is the voice of the subconscious mind is silence. So if you want to connect to, your highest self, your intuition, source, whatever your particular label is, it is a skill, a practice that needs consistent practice to sit, to be in quiet, in nothingness. And as Jody just described so powerfully, when you can learn to do that, I like to use the analogy, it's almost as if you're sitting at this command post where now you have this dashboard in front of you and it's all the dials and levers of emotions and thoughts and focus. And now you're in control. You can turn down the dial of different emotions, thoughts, and as you said, cultivate that inner experience, which you can then begin to reflect and then create in your outer world.
Yeah, maybe a analogy. I don't know if analogy, metaphor. I want to leave people with, and this is I'm stealing this from somebody I had on my podcast, Dr. Jacques Dallaire, he's in the US. He's near Morrisville, I think North or South Carolina. I think I'm not too sure exactly where he is. I know where it is on the map. I don't know which state and which town. I can point. It's about and then I should be close. But he gave this analogy. He said that this game of attention is like a smart bomb. And I was like, a smart bomb? He's like, yeah, it's like a smart bomb. So he works with people in military and things like that, and he teaches them sort of similar stuff, mental performance sort of stuff in that space. And so they said to him that it's like a smart bomb, the stuff he's describing. So what a smart bomb technology has not necessarily improved in terms of the bomb part. But what has improved is that if they shoot this missile and they want to reach a target far in the distance, like we set goals in performance, if they want to hit that target, what smart bomb technology does is the rocket fires off, and then over the distance, the rocket will, the elements are around it, right? So wind will blow, maybe clouds, the air pressure, all these things. And so smart bomb technology makes those little wings and flaps adjust. And so years and years and years ago, a smart bomb might have hit in a 500 yard by 500 yard radius, where today it hits in a 10 yard by 10 yard radius. So the bomb technology is maybe not improved. The explosion itself is not bigger or smaller necessarily, but the technology to be more accurate has improved. And so self-awareness is that. It's this ability to catch ourselves quickly when we're not busy having the experience we want to have and course correct as quickly as possible. So we need to upgrade our technology in that way. And you do that through sitting in stillness, through becoming familiar with who you are on the inside. A golfer will start off the day and he'll have a great day, or she'll have a great day, and feel all positive about the day's play. And before they get on the first tee box, somebody looks at them funny, or somebody makes a remark on the side, and it just upsets them, and their whole day is ruined because of somebody saying something. And I mean, it could be worse than that. Maybe it's raining and they thought it was going to be sunny. So there's all these interferences that want to affect our condition, that want to play a part in it. And so that ability to course correct is to be able to identify and recognize the interference and then reframe it in some way. Again, having some strategy. No, that's not the experience I want to have. This is the experience I want to have. I can deal with that later. Now is not the time is normally a great strategy. And it's not the time to be worried about what somebody else thinks of me. Right now is the time to focus my attention to hitting the ball. Right. So let me do that. I can worry about that thing later. And there's many other ways in which other strategies. Maybe it's a couple of breaths. Maybe it's something like I love sort of teaching my athletes, feel your left big toe. Because even when I said it there, you weren't aware of your left big toe. But as soon as I say it, it's like your mind goes to your left big toe. Yeah. As soon as you focus on your left big toe, your mind forgets the other thing that could potentially interfere, because it's because your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. And so if we can have a strategy to say, whenever I have interferences, I'm going to purposefully, consciously focus my attention on one thing, and then redirect it back to something simple, pinching my fingers, feeling my feet on the floor, hearing a sound. So we use our senses as these sort of interruptions of the interference, and then redirect our focus to what we want to focus on.
Brilliant. Well said. And something I want to make sure doesn't get lost there was, and I'm going to paraphrase what you said, but I think it was so powerful, and it comes back to that theme of expectation we hit on earlier. Like I always have kind of framed this similar topic through the lens of, when it comes to making progress in this area of self-awareness, how do we make this intangible aspect tangible so we can measure it? Someone might be thinking, okay, I've meditated for 21 days in a row, or I've sat in silence. Like, where or how is the difference? And you said it so well, that more or less saying, it's not that these thoughts, these beliefs are going to suddenly disappear, but your ability to recognize them more quickly, your ability to cultivate the strength to let them go, to redirect, or your ability to not let them impact you, that's what grows over time. So we can't set the expectation, okay, I've sat in silence for 10 days. Paul and Jody told me to journal 10 times and now they're gone. It doesn't work like that. But your ability to redirect, to bounce back or refocus, that's what immensely grows over time through consistency. And I want everyone just to really know that, so they can set the appropriate expectation, not get hooked by these perfectionistic tendencies we talked about, and can make sustainable progress.
Yeah, I think a better idea to have about that is to think of it as an onion, that there's always going to be the next layer to peel off. Unfortunately, yeah. I think that's part of the human experience, is there is no destination. There's no goal at the end of the day that you can go, nailed my mind. It doesn't happen. Well, I don't think, I've been proven wrong. I've been proven wrong before, about not thinking that the mind can go quiet. I've had that experience, so maybe I'm wrong, and that's okay. But my perception is, your mind is not something that you're going to conquer. It's something that you learn to harness, either for your benefit or for your harm. It's like a wild horse. It's a horse running wild. Thoughts come and go all the time, and it's your ability to sit on top of those thoughts and basically ride with them like you would a wild horse, and tame your mind essentially. But like they say, wild animals stay wild animals. So even if they're very tame, they will still have their moments. And so that's, I think, where the acceptance comes in and the allowance comes in. Okay, cool. My mind's now busy freaking out about a thing. Okay, well, let it freak out about this thing. We'll get back to I got a minute, give it 30 seconds, let it freak out. Okay, cool. Then we're gonna redirect. Where perfectionists would say, I'm not allowed to think a negative thought. I want to get rid of these negative thoughts. I've had so many clients come to me and say, Jody, I just want to not be negative anymore. I just want to be positive. And so this is where the whole idea of neutral comes in for me, that I think that's more the holy grail. It's not about being positive or negative. It's about finding the neutral. So for me in my own life, that's finding the peace. I know when I'm at peace, the experience I want to have on a daily basis is an experience of peace. So anything that disturbs my peace is something that I make a decision about. So some of it's important. There's some work I have to do. And so then it's that agitation is actually the energy I need to get that thing done. But it might not be very peaceful. Or I could say, no, I don't need this agitation doing that thing. So thank you for reminding me, but I'm still going to be peaceful in doing this thing that I want to be doing. Because then I have my best experience as a human being doing this thing,
So I'm going to ask you, and I imagine this might be a difficult question, but I trust you're going to have a brilliant answer. So as we
that's a lot of pressure though, eh? That's a lot of pressure.
But I think it's going to encapsulate, like we've had a wonderful discussion so far, and to put a bow on it, if you can picture a massive billboard on a golf course that you can see from every single hole, and you have an opportunity to put the message on that billboard that every golfer needs to be reminded of to play to their potential, what's that message you want to write on that billboard?
Oh, my head went into so many different spaces, but I think the one that I said, because there could potentially be many things, right? But I think the one for this conversation, I don't feel like I have a go-to with this, but the one for this conversation that seems to be in my mind at this point in time is just this acronym, WIN. So it stands for what's important next. A lot of people say what's important now. I like the idea of what's important next, because it gets you to just plan the next moment and say, okay, cool. In the next step, my next step is this. My next step is to walk up and hit this golf ball. Right. So let me go do that. And so I feel like that just directs for me, I found that just directs the focus a little bit better. Gets us to go, okay, what is the next thing? Just the next step. What's that? Okay, let's do that.
That is such a subtle but unique difference between now and next. I like that a lot too, because my mind immediately goes to, if you're asking me what's important next, well, first I have to become aware of what's presently happening, yet it now has given my mind something to anchor its focus on. Okay, I need action and awareness and clarity around next. My conscious mind can then focus on that, and my subconscious can take over when it's time to swing the ball. That's brilliant. Well said.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I love that a lot. So to close us out here, you have just provided a wealth of insight and knowledge. I am so grateful for our experience here today. Where can our listeners go to listen to your podcast, connect with, and learn from you?
So my podcast is called the Performance Formula Podcast. It's available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And then my website would be the best place to get all other contact details, just jodymartins.co.
Beautiful. Well, I will have all of that included in the show notes before. But Jody, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. I've loved this conversation, and I've loved sort of your paraphrasing of my ideas into your own sort of thoughts, and sort of seeing the similarities and yet maybe some of the subtle differences. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And for everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. I know you found immense value in today's conversation. So do myself and Jody a favor. Share this with a fellow golfer. Share this with somebody who needs to get out of their own way and start choosing a better inner experience to cultivate a more powerful and enjoyable outer experience as well. And if you haven't done so already, it would be greatly appreciated if you take 30 seconds to leave a genuine rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to today's show. Well, thank you again for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Hit them straight this week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.